Hey, it's Jeff from Jeff Has Cool Friends. And this is an episode. I'm so bad at starting this show. I've never been good at it. So welcome to another episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends, the first episode of 2023. Happy New-ish year, everyone. I am Jeff May. I have a show where I talk about all my cool friends, and I have brought one of my absolute coolest friends on here. Writer, producer, all-around good guy to know, Zeb Wells. Zeb, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
This is great having you here. And one of the main reasons is I have championed you
Really?
For quite some time now as being, in my opinion, I think the most underrated Spider-Man writer.
Really?
And I have said this on many occasions where there's a lot of glory that comes into Spider-Man writing. And of course, like great people like Dan Slott, for example, just nailing it and having these epic runs. I read a book. I believe it was like Peter Parker Spider-Man number like 54 or 55 or something. And it was just, I bought them because they were these great Humberto Ramos covers. And it was basically this sort of like Gauntlet-esque story of a game show where these villains were like taking bets on how fast Spider-Man will kick the shit out of B-level villains.
Yes.
And the writing, the banter, the storyline, I was like, oh, this guy gets Spider-Man more than I think anybody else did at the time. And so I was obsessed with that story. It's like legit one of my favorite all-time storylines.
Oh man, that's awesome to hear.
It's perfect because it's goofy and fun and silly. I mean, but it was also at the same time, I believe that Straczynski was doing Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes.
Which was a much more serious, kind of brooding, massive shift. And you got to do like this very minutia style Peter Parker thing. And I was like, that's the shit I want forever.
Yeah.
With Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's funny. Just you bringing that up takes me back. And it's so awesome to hear that connected with you because I remember that was 20 years ago now.
Almost,
that I wrote that. And my memories are working on those issues for months, just pulling my hair out. Yeah, because, well, I got my job writing comics. It kind of fell into my lap.
After Robot Chicken, right?
No. It was I won a filmmaking contest for Wizard magazine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I had a friend that looked like the Incredible Hulk. So we painted him green and like did a video of him losing his job at Marvel and having to go be a short order cook. And he, of course, becomes a stripper and then a prostitute and it ends up on the streets. Blah, blah, blah. Good year 2000 humor.
An unfortunate Hulk.
Yeah, an unfortunate Hulk. And so that video won an award, and then we won it again the next year. And Axel Alonso, the editor at Marvel, saw the video.
That's got to feel nice.
It did. Oh, it was awesome because we won the contest, so we got to go to a comic convention. Axel saw it there and then said, "Would you like to write a comic book?"
Which con?
Wizard World. It was Wizard World Chicago.
Okay. So I was there in 2004.
Yeah, so this was like 99, 2000.
Oh, so like, okay, so like during the sort of crash, like in the middle, like at the tail end of the crash.
It was right when it was an exciting time because Joe had taken over and comics had started getting good. Marvel Comics had started getting good
Axel
again.
And Joe.
Yes,
I really credit Axel and Joe for bringing Marvel into a new, better place.
For sure.
They weren't chasing. Yes. Which Marvel had been doing for the previous 10 years. They were chasing what they lost, which was flashy artists.
Yeah.
And people were like, we don't want that anymore. Like, right, artists are good. We like artists, but like, if you don't have writers, you don't have a story.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, the big lesson of the boom and bust.
For sure. I think what you're saying is that they just brought taste to the whole thing. They showed up and they had taste
and giving independent writers the shot, where a lot of it was just like a lot of the same names over and over.
For sure.
Yeah, I do stand by that. My favorite book, I think my favorite Marvel title of all time is the X-Force Ecstatics by Peter Milligan and Mike Allred.
Incredible.
It's I have a sketchbook with those, with people that did those characters. Like I think it's the best destruction of the X-Men mythos and reconstruction, and it was great. And it was like a super indie artist in Mike Allred combined with like Mr. Vertigo with Pete Milligan, to make an X-Men book that was so out there. And I was like, this is extremely my That's when I
Totally.
got back, because I left comics.
Yeah.
And
No,
came
I
back.
thought that I would never read another Marvel comic again. I didn't see, and I love all of those characters, but I thought I was out.
Yeah.
And was you know, like trying to find Alan Moore stuff at that time that I liked, and I would still
this ABC stuff.
yeah, I would still pick up some stuff, but Marvel was pretty much done.
It was
And
DOA,
then-
yeah. And they were doing stuff like, let's give John Byrne a Spider-Man title. And
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
This is not that fun.
yeah. It would just seem like very old guardy.
Yeah.
Still, and there was a lot of cool talent out there, and I think Joe, as a legitimate fan of comics, and he just had good taste, and
yeah.
saved
And
it.
of course, and that you are, of
Well,
course,
well,
that good
no.
taste.
And they knew nothing about me. All they knew is that I had made that video, and the reason I got the job, it wasn't so much as the video, but they gave you a Wizard Award for winning that contest.
Oh yeah.
So I got to go up and accept it. And I gave like a speech where I was doing jokes. I was making jokes, but I was such a nerd that I was doing like very insidery jokes about Bendis and Quesada, and it killed, and it would kill nowhere else.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it would
You
be
knew
funny
your- you knew
nowhere. It would be
you knew
funny
your
nowhere
audience,
else.
yeah.
Yes. And Axel said that's why he wanted to work with me. So
You're fun,
yeah,
because you were a stand-up.
no.
You worked in comedy though.
Well,
you
so-
did-
no, well,
you-
see, listen, I was 23 years old.
Okay.
I was nothing.
Okay.
I was painting houses at the time. I had gone to film school.
All right.
But I was painting a house. I left to go to this comic convention and came back to finish the house I was painting, but I was now a comic book writer.
That's
and it was
fun, yeah.
insane. It was insane.
I did house painting when I was in college. I did that as I've had.
Exterior, interior, what'd you do?
I preferred exterior.
You preferred exterior.
Yeah, because it was summertime
Uh-huh.
and in New England, and summertime exterior house painting means you get days off sometimes because of the rain.
Because of the rain, yeah.
But interior painting, you're just stuck there in the muggiest in the world.
Yeah.
And you're just like, this sucks, and you don't like. I liked having the jog, but I also liked having surprise days off.
Sure. What I liked, the interiors always seemed very methodical, like you attack it methodically. And then the exterior, there's something about I didn't like because it was always a new challenge. You know, like where do the ladders go?
Fair.
Like what? And
I don't hate. I liked that. I liked because I was the opposite, where I was like, there's too much to up on an interior. Like if you drop if you paint the wrong thing, you're like, now I gotta wipe, do this. With the exterior, it's like they're not gonna notice.
Yeah.
I remember my last day. When you'd have to like scrape the paint chips off and everything before you'd be able to sand and prime and everything like that. I was atop a fully extended 40-foot ladder on a marble staircase of a church in Massachusetts, in Central Mass. And I remember that it was like you work with a lot of like meth heads and stuff like that when you're doing it. Like a lot of people that can't get other jobs. A lot of jobs where they're like, can you pay me cash if you pay me less?
Yeah.
The person's like, yeah. So I remember being there with like this meth head guy that was supposed to prevent me from falling, just not there. I looked down, and if you've ever been at the top of an extended 40-foot ladder, they bow in.
Yeah.
So they like kind of have this like angling curve going in, and I'm like scraping these tiny flecks of paint, and I was like in a church, and I'm like, if I fall, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, God wouldn't kill me, right? And then I was like, I don't know if there's a God. That's a weird thing to think. And I was like, I don't want to do this job anymore. And then I just climbed down the ladder and was like, I think I quit.
That was it.
And then I just left.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not a career.
No,
I was done. Like I've had so many stupid summer college jobs.
Yeah. At that age, this is why young men go to war. At that age, it was all about not being a wuss, So like I think about some of those ladders I was on.
Right, they're terrifying.
And I remember one, there was we were painting the little tubes that come, like little vents that come out of the roof.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And there was one on a really steep,
like little stovepipe kind of things.
Yeah. And it was like at the very end of the roof. And and I was at the top of it. And I said, the only way I can get down there, because it's so slippery, is just slide down the roof and let the thing stop me at the end. And I did it. And to this day, that will pop into my head at like 2 a.m. and I'll be like, why did I do that?
Why would I have ever
Yeah,
done
what
something like
the
that?
risk?
Yeah.
Like, and some of those ladders I was up on. And I remember I was working for my dad's friend, and I was telling my dad about that, because I was just like, hey, I'm not a wuss, and he was like, hey, Zeb, you're making $10 an hour.
Yeah, maybe don't.
You don't have to go up there. Maybe don't go up there. I was like, yeah.
That was I did like. There was something about cool jobs. When you're young and you're it's like I was 19 and I was a bouncer.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a cool job. And I was making $7 an hour.
Yeah.
To potentially get hurt.
Yeah.
Or stabbed.
Yep.
And I was like, it's pretty cool, right? I'm like a teenager. I can't even go to this club as a patron, but I'm working here and telling people what to do.
Young men, that we have some strange ideas.
I was surprisingly forethinking though, long-term stuff. Cause I remember when I started boxing, my coach was obsessed with my right arm with punching. Like he's like, it's perfect. You hit like a pro already and you're, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, do you want to go pro? And I was like, no. And he's like, what do you mean? He was like really offended that I didn't want to go pro. And I was like, I think I have a good enough brain that I don't want to lose it. And I'm not fighting for my life the way some of these people are. Like I didn't grow up, we grew up without money, but I also, like I had parents around, like I don't have a kid. Yeah. There's all these things where these people are like, I need to fight. If I don't win this fight, my family starves. And I'm like, I don't want to fight that guy.
Yeah.
For 2 reasons. 1, he's got a reason to kill me. And 2, if I win, things are worse.
Yeah. But see, you're still sparring and stuff, right? So you still get hit in the head, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. It's funny you brought that up because I got rocked the other day by this dude that didn't know how to pull a punch. He just didn't know how, or he wouldn't. I don't know what his deal was, but he didn't have a mouth guard in. And usually when you do that, it's hit me as hard as you want to be hit. That's the thing you tell people.
Okay.
But I couldn't reciprocate and give him a receipt
because
I was like, because I've lost teeth. Like I'm missing a few, and I didn't want to do I'm not going to. And he was like, just go ahead and just hit me then. And I was like, I'm not going to take your teeth from you in our fun little boot camp sport game here.
Yeah.
Like, this is a sport. It's a game. We're a team. We're having fun. And I'm helping you get better. Like I've been doing this for long enough, but he did rock me. And I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. See, the closest I got is my dad was a boxer not a box. Like he wasn't battling Jack Murdoch, but he
which you wrote that comic, by the way.
I did write that comic. Yeah. He fooled around in college basically. So he, and
then he also boxed. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
What a lazy joke. What a lazy,
and I laughed at
joke.
It. Yeah. And
that's on
I
you.
encouraged you. Yeah.
That's
so
your fault.
There's more of that to come. But so when I was a kid, like he would show me the ropes and whatnot, and you can see I'm a very small man.
You're fit.
And so but every once in a while we had boxing gloves around always, and so my friends would come over and we would box in the backyard, and we did that into our early 20s, And so
because young men are stupid as
yes. Yeah. And all I know is that we would do 3 30-second rounds.
Okay.
And it was too long. And it was too long because that is an exhausting sport.
It's a lot.
And there's something weird about punching your friend in the face and getting punched by your friend. Because as soon as someone punches you in the face, it's hard to...
you do have to learn.
There's a lot of emotions that come up.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, too, I'm guessing with those 30-second rounds, it was just wild haymakers.
Yeah. It was haymakers.
There's a much more reserved approach to boxing when you're doing 3-minute rounds.
Yes.
But it is funny, because when I train people, I have to tell them, I'm like, you have to get comfortable trying to hit me. And they're like, I don't want. And sometimes I have to trick people into hitting me because me telling them, look, I've been hit in the face thousands of times, literally thousands of times. I was like, you're not going to be the one that does it.
Yeah.
I was like, you are a 130-pound woman.
Yeah.
I am 210 pounds with a 21-year history of this sport. I think we're good. So like that, but that part of like getting that in, but I find that first shot is like falling into a cold swimming pool.
Right.
It's very
bracing.
You're never more aware of your surroundings than the first shot.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I am online.
Yeah.
Like I am here. and
I'm alive.
Yeah. And it's people are like, no, but it's harm. And I'm like, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And that is a very unique energy to bring to, I don't even like calling it violence because it's a sport. Where like my girlfriend called, she'll be like, yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, did your violence hurt you today? So strange. And I'm like, that's not fair. But I was like, but you're also
but
right.
it's both. It's definitely both of those things.
It seems barbaric.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just, I like the chess of it.
Sure.
Like, and like the whole, like, it's not just working on one thing. You have to have a good brain and you have to get strong.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable.
And you have to train.
Yeah. And get used to it. And there's so many parts to it that it's like you're building a watch.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And I just really enjoy doing that. And it also got me much healthier physically.
Well, and that's the thing. I cannot imagine a better workout than because I'm telling you, those 30-second rounds, we were recovering for days and days.
It's
recovery.
It is, as much as we could talk about around at parties, boxing all the time. I'll end it with this one. My brother, because I'm about a little over half a foot taller than my brother. I'm a mutant in my family. And this was when I was actually a competing boxer, when I had just maybe fought in the Golden Gloves and I had lost and my brother was giving me a hard time. And I was like, you've done nothing. You have never done anything. And you're giving me a hard time right now. So we were at a party. My parents were out of town. So we had a party at my house. And my brother was hanging out with a lot of exotic dancers at the time. 'Cause why not?
Yeah.
And he was trying to show off. And I had to work the next morning. So there was this party in my house and I was trying to sleep. And so finally I got up and I was like, guys, I think we need to end this. Like it's 3 a.m. I have to be at work for 7. Get out. And my brother was like, I'll box you for it. And he was like poking me. And so he came at me, but he didn't know how to box. So he like kind of like a toddler, he cocked his hand back like he was. And I just turned and gave him like a hook and he went in the air like Superman. Like literally both hands out and just landed and slid into the grass and just was done.
Now, did you put on boxing gloves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
So it was boxing. It wasn't
no,
just
I wouldn't do that.
A fist fight.
Because that would have been like a murder.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too, is I don't think I'd ever bare fist fight somebody in the real world. Because that would be a crime.
Yeah. That's well, I grew up in Kansas and Colorado.
Okay.
And not, like lower middle class, but all strata of people at our school, but sometimes I'll just go through my head all the violence I saw growing up. Like I don't know where you grew up, but I've seen a lot of fights. I've been in fights, and from a time where it was just like, and all the movies we watched, it's just like people were getting punched all the time. And then you get older and I realize like how you can kill someone.
It can hurt real bad.
Yeah. But like these fist fights, these bare knuckle fist fights that we used to get into, they're you're a kid, so that helps. But
you're not a lot of power.
But it's
from
not
a 12-year-old.
normal. Yeah. But it's not.
Yeah.
I grew up thinking it was socially acceptable to get into a fight, or you always had to be ready to fight.
It also seems very barbaric here.
Yeah,
because this is a very soft.
Yes.
Well, it's a soft industry,
right?
More than it is the city.
Yes.
Yeah,
you're dealing with a lot of Ivy League educated people. Where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, teach! I just got my ass kicked. Well, you better toughen up. You better learn how to deal with. Hey, I'm being bullied. You better learn how to deal with it, or you're gonna get bullied all your life.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
like
some teacher teaching you how to punch some bully in the nose.
Yeah, so you grew up with the message that you better be ready to fight someone at all times, and that's been weird. Like the last 15 years, trying to like scrub that out of my brain. Like
I feel like it shouldn't be 100% gone.
I agree. I agree, but I don't want to walk around all day thinking if I have a disagreement with someone, a stranger, I need to be like, so like this.
It's funny to me. Like there was a time not too long ago where this guy was road raging at me because he was an ambulance was going, and so we all pulled out of the way, and then we were getting back, but he was just drafting the ambulance. So he was just speeding behind it, and so like he almost hit a bunch of people because he was just trying to like get past everyone. And I kind of was like, I threw my hands up, and he pulled up next to me, and I could tell he was like 5'9", just like, and he was like pointing and screaming.
Yeah.
And I was like, I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, should I get out? Because that would be really funny. Because he doesn't know what's happening in here. And she's like, no, please no, just go. And she's correct. But I was like, how funny would it be if I got out and I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But then she's like, he probably could have like a gun.
Right. But see, it sounds like you're able to keep your head in those situations.
Oh, always. Yeah.
But see, I think I grew up as a prey animal, so when that happens, and that's what I'm working on now, because I think it's very hard for me to for my nervous system not to see situations like that as life or death. Like, the fighter. You got to be ready to die, and like, I don't want to have to be ready to die in my car if someone's upset with me.
I think it was early in my coaching where it was basically like about fighting. He's like, first off, don't box in the street because somebody's going to kick your nuts in. Like, that's not how that works. But he was also like, he's like, yeah, you can, but don't.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? Why would you sacrifice your career? Why would you sacrifice it? He's like, it's not worth it.
That's the thing. 30 seconds after I'm ready to die, I'm like, oh my God, what was it? I don't care. None of this is all so stupid.
Yeah. I find these guys very funny. The like confrontational guys. Because I'm like, if you don't, and it happens a lot on like Twitter. Because I'm one of the pronouns and bio people, because I want people to feel comfortable, even if people that are very clearly a he, him, for example, are saying it. It's like, I'm normalizing it. That's what I'm doing. And this guy made fun of me. And actually, it was in reply to a Dan Slott tweet. And he just went pronouns in bio, and he was like Tesla guy. And I was like, Tesla in bio, like LOL. And then he started being like, what's your BMI? I bet you. And I'm like, dude, you'd be so upset when you find out. I was like, you're going to be so mad. You're going to be so mad when you find out that not only am I progressive, but I could snap you in half.
Right.
It was just, it's so funny to me.
Well, it's funny when you see people taking wild swings like that. It's just like, oh, unprocessed trauma. Oh, this guy's scared, or
Yeah. Oh, you're stereotyping. You haven't met a real person before. You're only on the internet.
Yeah. These people need help.
So the Axel Alonso coming in, and I think he and Joe Quesada were like a godsend to Marvel, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I think I was very grateful for that.
To the industry, in my opinion. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, was the book that you got, was that Tangled Web?
Yeah, Tangled Web, issue 12.
That was an anthology series about the lives that are affected by Spider-Man. Yeah. So he was a bit player. Spider-Man's a bit player in the stories. And yours was, I was a teenage frogman.
Yes.
Which I'm assuming is the plan. I was a teenage caveman. Or teenage werewolf?
Werewolf. Teenage wolfman. I was a teenage werewolf. Yeah.
Was
there something called I Was a Teenage Caveman?
You know what I think that was? I think that's a movie that Christos Gage wrote.
Okay.
Or just Teenage Caveman. No, I wouldn't say recently. I don't think Christos is writing Teenage Caveman anymore. I think he's writing like Marvel Fortnite.
Yeah, he just seems
he's been at it.
Yeah,
he was Hawaii 5-0, and he did SVU a bunch, and he's
the new Hawaii 5-0.
Yes,
right?
Okay, no, not the 70s Hawaii 5-0. Because it's funny, like Christos, he and I go way back because we're from the same town, and so he used to come into the comic shop that I used to go to and work at all the time. And when I moved out here, he became my like Boston watching Patriots games together, buddy, and stuff like that. Right. But yeah, I remember I think he wrote Teenage Caveman, which was like a 90s.
Awesome.
Like a nice,
sounds fantastic.
It seems like real good B movie schlock energy to it. Okay, so you wrote I Was a Teenage Frogman, which is about the Frogman character who's recently got a nice little bump. Do you prefer writing the like obscure, silly characters? Because you also then did with that Peter Parker, the Spider-Man, it was like Rules of the Game. I believe was the name of the series, right? The Rules of the Game, 3-part series. Peter Parker Spider-Man number 54. It's 53, 54 and 55.
Yes, and I think I did 2 issues before that and
You
2
did.
issues after that as
Mhm.
well.
You did the 2. I actually want to talk to you about the 2 issues after that. Like I actually have a kind of a deep cut question about that. So we'll get into that. But so that one, it was basically you writing obscure villains getting their asses kicked by Spider-Man while people were gambling about that.
Yeah.
So was this a thing where Marvel said you can't use any of these main villains and you have to use sort of the lower tier? Or were you like, hey, can I write like the B team jokes?
I can't remember. I bet I was self-censoring and I was just reaching for the lower tier characters.
It worked.
Yeah. I think probably a lot of people and a lot of writers, and especially if you like to write humor at all, I think a lot of people come in and really want to write those B characters because they're funny or you're like, what is this guy's deal? I think those are the most fun characters is when you're asking yourself, what is this guy's deal?
Yeah,
like what is this guy's life like?
Yeah, like Dr. Octopus, that's like a whole thing you gotta get into.
You gotta dig into it.
But you ended up doing, because we can flash forward nearly 2 decades from that, where you got to write an Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, you are the writer of Amazing Spider-Man right now, which
right.
That's a hell of an honor to be
totally,
sort of bequeathed to, that you're now that guy.
Yeah.
So you did obviously starting from number 1 and moving on, you've been working with John Romita Jr., who is one of the most legendary Spider-Man artists of all time.
Awesome.
In Spider-Man 900/6, I believe, like it's of the legacy numbering versus. So there's this thing as I was reading it where Sandman shows up because it's the Sinister Six, and Sandman's like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Am I a bad guy right now? I was just a beach. I was recently a beach, and the editor's notes were like, this recently happened in this. But also, Zeb, it also happened. And as soon as I read that line, I was like, is he referencing his Peter Parker run with Sam Keith that he did? Because you did a story where he was broken up and scattered across a beach. And it was this very, by the way, for early in your career to write to Sam Keith's strengths as well as you did for that run is wild to me. Because that's the most Sam Keith-ass Spider-Man story that could have existed.
I am proud of that. Looking back at the early 20s, me, just that I had the wherewithal to write to my artist that early.
Yeah. So Sam Keith, for those of you that may not be familiar with the names, because we're dropping a lot of names, and I do understand that not all of you are big comic book fans. Sam Keith, most famously the writer or the creator and co-writer of the Max, which ended up being, one of that good second, like 1.5 to second run of Image comics that had come out. But also on top of that became a relatively popular MTV cartoon, like a rotoscoped, in the style of his stuff. A very unique artist.
Very unique, yes.
In one of those, you kind of either were obsessed or you couldn't stand it. Yeah, like that's there. And very big in like body horror. Like his stuff is very exaggerated and strange, and so when
kind of dreamlike or nightmare. Oh, there's a little Dr. Seuss in there too. It's weird.
Yes, yeah. So it was funny when you wrote that line. Was that a purposeful line of what had just happened with Sandman, or was it more like you were also nodding the storyline that you had done nearly 20 years prior?
I think it was both. But I looked into where he had been last. I was like, oh, he's still doing the beach. Like he's still doing the beach thing. So yeah. And then also in looking in the stories that happened in between the 2 beach stories, there was a lot of like good guy, bad guy, good guy, bad guy. So
he really is.
He got batted around.
He's like a wrestler.
Yeah.
Sandman. He's everywhere.
And you don't know if he's a heel.
So is the Macho Man. He a good guy or a bad guy right now? Yeah. But
that was me, and also me acknowledging like I'm not going to dig into this. Like I don't have time in this story to bring you up to speed on what the Sandman's thing is. So unfortunately, we're just going to make a joke and move on.
But that's actually so much better.
Yeah,
like because that's what Spider-Man needs, and I feel like this is unfair of me to say because I think Dave Michelini's a great writer, but he was writing Spider-Man at a time where Spider-Man wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And there was not, and the snowball was already pushed down the hill too fast for him to be able to be like, I need to make this funnier.
Sure.
And it wasn't. And Spider-Man in the 90s really didn't have the fun that it could have been. A lot of cool, like we got Carnage and we got Venom and we got all this like really, really intense stuff. But it was always just like, oh, I'm having problems with my wife. And my parents are back, but they're clones.
Yeah.
Thanks to the chameleon. And it's just all this like weird that was happening, and it lost the fun of it. And so I kind of nod to you as being one of the people that really pushed Spider-Man being fun again.
Yeah. And he's such an interesting character because I love the fun part of him, of course. Mm-hmm. But then I think a lot of people's favorite, and one of my favorite Spider-Man stories is Kraven's Last Hunt, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And that's so dark and emo, And so like the character can do both.
Yes.
But it's, and should do both.
Yeah.
But it's a hard balance. You have to balance. His life should never be great, but you also don't want to do like a full year of him just eating for the entire time,
Yeah. It shouldn't be Deadpool.
Yes.
Where it's like constant jokes, but the joking is such an important part of the character. The joking
is such an important part, but you can't make him a cartoon character.
Oh, he is a cartoon character, by the way. I don't know if you know.
No, he can't.
I've got huge news for you.
No.
Very upsetting.
No. But I always think that in my head. It's like, I don't want to write Spider-Man the animated series. I want it to be a little.
That wasn't funny.
I want it to be I haven't seen any of them, so I shouldn't even say that. But
wow.
But what I'm saying is like I shouldn't say. I don't want it to be like the cartoon. I want it to have a little Kraven's Last Hunt in it. A little bit of.
Well, stakes should be high.
Yeah.
And and I think you came in, and I think the much higher stakes when you came in was with Straczynski. Being tasked with like, and kind of being given the hardest job.
Oh my God.
Which is just being like, save Spider-Man. And also we're going to get rid of that marriage.
On your way out the door.
Yeah. We're going to give you the most hated
biggest sandwich, and we're going to sit here and watch you eat it.
I love that everybody is mad. They still get upset at him for that. And he's just like, I don't know what you wanted me to do.
Yeah.
Like, I had to do this. Even Quesada's just like, why are you guys getting mad at him?
Yeah.
I drew this for a reason.
And also, it's so long ago. Clearly, we can all see what they were doing.
Yeah.
They felt from a character perspective, get rid of the marriage.
You had to reboot without reset.
Yes. Yeah. And so they did it. Let's all turn our backs, pretend it didn't happen, and move the on.
Band-Aid hurt.
Yes, the Band-Aid hurt. It's off.
Yeah.
Let's put our fingers in our ears and tell some Spider-Man stories.
Which is funny because when I was reading Amazing Spider-Man, I was like, I feel like I'm not up to date right now. Because there was some stuff where I was like, oh, so they're not. Oh, she has a baby. Okay. All right. Maybe I should do some research as to what happened with Mary Jane.
That hasn't been told yet. Like I'm working on that story to tell.
Okay.
So what I was trying to do there is anyone that came on new, they would be just as confused as people that had been reading the whole time, and everyone's like,
okay.
And I don't know if it works. It seems like people are a little too confused. And then
I feel better.
The Ann Wilkes or the Misery. Who was the Misery character? Kathy Bates.
Annie Wilkes.
Annie Wilkes. Yeah. Those people are still upset about One More Day. They're
man. Comic book fans really hate comic books sometimes.
Yeah, and it's not all fans. But
it's old men that used to read Spider-Man and now they hear what's happening.
And some youngins too. Like
you are very divisive.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to me because when I was researching, there is and I hope you haven't gone to it, the Zeb Wells Spider-Man subreddit.
No, I haven't.
Where people are like, I'm loving this, and then it's like he should be fired and never be allowed to touch Spider-Man again, which every Spider-Man writer deals with
for sure.
And you did a book that I loved with a person that I love at the early beginning of his career as well, which was you and Scotty Young working on the New Warriors.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Scotty, he and I go back since like 2004. I loved his work immediately.
That's probably about when we were working together. Maybe 2003, 2004.
So a reboot of the New Warriors that was really taking a look at, I think presciently taking a look at sort of the culture of reality television.
Yes.
Where these guys were filming a reality show, basically. And it was like very funny, a series that not a ton of people necessarily go back to because it's just, there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
But by doing this, what you created was the spark for Civil War.
Yeah, I keep or Scotty keeps telling me that Mark Miller was a big fan of that book.
I would think he would have had to have been.
Yeah. And that was a fun situation because me and Scotty were both fairly new or like on the peripheral of Marvel and
upstarts.
Upstarts. And it's one of those things that you don't really get to do anymore, which was me and Scotty talking about it for like 4 months and then pitching it and it taking forever to get off the ground. And, if you broke down how much we made on that book, it would probably be like $4.25 an hour, because you just pour
your soul into
it. Yeah. And then, so that's a really fun memory. And me and Scotty are friends to this day because of that book. And we had a great time working on it together.
Yeah. And he ended up doing one of the variant covers for Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Yeah.
Which
is really rare for him. He doesn't do many variants.
No, he doesn't really put himself out there, which I think is unfortunate. There's certain artists that you're just like, are you even working right now?
Yeah.
Mike Mayhew, another example.
Yeah.
Mike, are you even doing work now?
Yeah.
Oh, 30 covers this month? Cool.
Yeah.
It's funny because Scotty at Comic-Con, we were having lunch at our hotel bar at Comic-Con, and Scotty came over and he started talking and talking, and my girlfriend's like, who's that? And I was like, I'll show you later. And I was like, this guy. And she was like, oh,
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I think I got a sketch from him. This was like I think during his Human Torch era.
Yeah.
For $15.
Human Torch. Yeah.
Because that was his tryout.
That was right
Human
before.
Torch.
Yeah. That was before Human Torch. Holy shit.
And I got this sketch he did of like the Black Cat or something.
Yeah.
For $15.
Yeah.
And I tell people about that and they get furious.
Yeah.
Furious.
I love his hustle. What he's done with his shop.
With the shop and stuff. Yeah.
And how he's branched off into writing. And is doing so many
Middle
books.
West, I think he was, and then he's great.
He's just a cool dude. He's a cool dude.
It's not always the case that people that are popular and talented are cool.
No.
And when I say cool, I mean like good to be around.
No. I had to get this out of my system, but starting, sometimes you see an artist and they're so good that you're like, oh, that guy's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And then you meet them and you're like, oh, this is not a genius. and I want out of here as soon as possible.
Yeah, this is just a talented man.
Yeah.
This person is just good at their job.
Yeah.
This is not And and then there's people too where like they're so good that in your head you polish their work.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're just like, oh, this person's my new favorite artist now. And they're like, what changed? I was like, they're nice.
Yes, absolutely.
And I love being a fan of my friends.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and it more often than not has happened where it was friends first. And I was like maybe familiar with their work. And as they grew, you might be one of the people that I was a fan of first, just because during that upstart Marvel era, I thought you were the one that got it. Yeah. And I guess it makes more sense because you were a fan doing the same things that I was doing, reading Wizard magazine and around.
Yeah, exactly.
And just doing like a guy with a job.
Yeah.
Just being a fan. You just,
yeah.
You went and created.
Yeah. And I'm so glad. I mean, it just, it makes me feel very good that you were a fan because what it felt like when I was writing those books for the first 10 years of my career was that no one gave a shit. And like, I was just like writing into a complete vacuum.
Nope.
And so I appreciate that very much. Like it took me a long time to get some traction.
I see it because I see it. And then like when they did Brand New Day and you got brought into that roster, that rotating roster of people, with Dan Slott and, the all stars. And they brought and that I think that was really the first big nod that I saw to you. That they were like that they trusted you with rebooting, like with the biggest thing they had.
And I think probably in a good way, I have a problem seeing that stuff as it's happening.
Of course.
You know, and I think it's good because I'm still hungry to this day. I don't perceive anything that's happening as good until like 10 years down the road. Like right now I can look back and I'm so glad that I was working in a vacuum for 10 years because I felt like I got better. I feel like I got better as I went. And
you also have to do that because you can't let the weight of your project influence your project.
No.
Because then you're building for the concept instead of for the art or
for the art.
work.
Yeah, for the work. You just got to try to do good work.
Right.
And but it's funny how this art is, it's such a discipline, and that's what I've really realized the last 5 or 6 years is the most important project I will ever work on is my process for how I get what's in here
to get it out
to the page,
which is hard.
It's
because
so hard.
There's because we don't have enough time for me to be like, what's your process, right? Like how do you write a comic book? But I did. And I was going to kind of save this for the end, but we have so much more to talk about because of all your work with TV and movies, as we're going to, sort of kind of. But like, if you had advice for somebody for like writing a comic, because there are people that want to write comics, but they're frozen. Yeah, they're stuck.
Yeah.
I want to write a comic. Well, how do I do that? How do I organize my thoughts and do that? So for the people listening, like, what is there any like, not magic, but like what kind of advice would you give to somebody that has never done this before, that wants to get in there, other than just do it, man? You just got to do it.
No, I mean, my friend on She-Hulk, Zig, he was such a comic book fan. And so after She-Hulk, he got a job at Marvel writing comics. And I just, apropos of nothing, sent him like 3 pages of everything I've learned. And so I could tell them exactly how I do it, and it is how I do it, and they would have to figure out how they do it. But I think I've learned a thing or two. Like I could nuts and bolts it.
You're a multiple decades veteran.
I've done it for 20 years,
which is so it's time, man. Yeah, time is wild. I think about that a lot.
Yeah,
where like I'll even where it's stuff where it's like I'll get in the boxing ring and they're like, ooh, and I was like, yeah, I just realized I'm not 20.
Yeah.
Like I have to, and I'm still like, I think like I am. And I'm like, no, you've been doing this for so long. You can do things differently. You've modified, you've changed, you've sculpted. And that to you is that. So
it's a double-edged sword, right? Yeah. Because I'm older, but you're also older. And so when I was in the She-Hulk writer's room, I felt old for the first time. Like I felt older because there were a lot of 20 somethings in the room. And, I was 44 or 42. And was I only 42? No, I was 44. But on the other hand, I also felt wizened in a way. Like I had been through a lot of stuff, and so it's pros and cons.
It was really your wheelhouse too.
Oh yeah,
because you wrote on She-Hulk, which is, it's funny to me, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But it is very, very funny to me that you ended up being one of the main writers of this extremely controversial, for the most hilarious reasons, show. And we are going to talk about a little bit about She-Hulk too. Before that, I don't know if you knew this, Zeb, but if you are listening at patreon.com/Jeff May, thank you for the money. I appreciate your money and your ears, but I love that money. If you are listening for free, thank you. I appreciate your ears. I would like you so much more if you gave me the money. No, but beyond that too, if you go sign up for the producer tier, you can pay a little bit of extra money. And at some point in time during my episodes, I say your name or maybe something you want me to say. So that being said, Zeb, we got a couple of names in here and we can discuss these names if we want. Okay. We can just keep rolling. For example, we can talk about Steven, but there's not a lot to go with Steven. So shout out to Steven. Shout out to, I'm having trouble reading this name because I am illiterate. Okay.
That's the name?
That is the name, yeah.
Okay.
They just wanted to make me look like an ass and nailed it. So yeah, shout out to, I can't think of anything funny because I'm not the damn comedian here, Jeff. You didn't have to do anything funny. For example, Mike Gautz just said Mike Gautz. That's it. He just said his name.
Gautz. Great last name.
Right?
Gautz.
Gautz. G-A-U-T-Z.
Yeah.
That is a strong name.
Gautz.
Shout out to Lisa McCarty at Comics Book Girl, comics with an X, girl with a U. Lisa's great. If you've ever been to Austin Books and Games, she works there. Great comic shop. Shout out to Aeschylus and his tortoise, Dr. DNA. I get to beguile. That is a inside joke about my high school. So that is my friend from high school.
Oh, great.
That put that in there.
Listens to your podcast.
He's on the podcast too, because my friend Tim Makuga, who was in a very popular shoegaze band called Have a Nice Life, which is an interesting. If you think you have an interesting fan base, you got the shoegaze people.
Sure,
They're like, someday I'd like to kill myself to your music. Please don't. Please no. All right. Shout out to I'm never going to have a history podcast, you little so stop asking. They want me to do a history podcast so bad. I did that.
Are you a big
job.
history guy?
I mean, it was my career for a decade.
Okay,
I was a history teacher. So they're like, you should do hardcore history. I'm like, oh, that show's already a thing.
It exists.
They already have that show.
Yeah.
Shout out to the scene in Meet Joe Black where Brad Pitt dies. Very
he gets
funny.
hit by the car.
Yeah, that is comedy. Yeah. Shout out to Mackenzie. Jeff made me feel like a douche for my Albert Camus reference. So now I'm going to make him say Eddie Haskell's obvious piss fetish. Chill. He only paid $10 for me to say that.
That was worth 20 at least.
He's great. Best shoes in the game. He comes to mint on card every once in a while. He's got these like bright pink glossy shoes.
Love that.
Oh, it's so good. Shout out to Instagram and Twitter's at Bob_of_skull. While my chocolate starfish gently weeps. Shout out to Lemming Malloy, Norm from Cheers, Burrito Mouth, Dan Hackroyd. Happy holidays. You probably should have updated that name. The holidays are over and it's not happy. Nolan, Tubi's Dark Herald says, watch A Breed Apart, Rutger Hauer's Eagle movie.
Okay.
Rutger Hauer has an Eagle movie. This guy just likes Tubi, so he just keeps...
He gives Tubi recommendations?
He gives Tubi recommendations, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah. Like that guy.
Shout out to Itty Bitty Millie Committee Pity the Fool. That was just trying to make me look stupid, I think. Shout out says Kelly says eat the rich. They're hoarding all the blue check marks. You don't have to be rich for a blue check mark anymore. You just need $8. Shout out to Jeff using Deep Blue Sea memes to break bad news. I did every once in a while I'll post a picture of right before Skarsgård gets his arm bitten off by the shark. I'll put the shark and then whoever. So it's like 2022 and then then Barbara Walters. I did that with Betty White and I did that with Barbara Walters for not reciprocity, but for symmetry here. Shout out to Tyler Wilgus asking 7. In the time since he changed his name on this document, Jezbud had a kid, got a new job, and got COVID. I am terrified that this man is dead because this has been the same name for like 6 months. Or he has a kid and he's busy. Shout out to Kimball, the casual Frankenstein. The Target lost.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Frankenstein does wear like a suit.
Yeah.
I was always like, why does he do that? And I was like, oh, because he was a corpse and he's buried in a suit.
Yeah.
I just bought a suit at It's a Wrap. You ever go to It's a Wrap?
No.
It's a Wrap is on Magnolia. It is it's a sort of a thrift store. It's like a clothing consignment store.
I have.
But it's only stuff from TV shows and movies. I bought a suit there that fits me perfectly. It was Bokeem Woodbines.
Nice. Did they say from what?
Yeah, it's because it's actually they didn't tell me, but I could have tried to research on the tag, but literally the lining of the pants have the name of the show. It was like some show that was a pilot that ended up being a TV movie.
Okay.
And it says Bokeem, so they actually spelled his name wrong on there.
He's great.
He's amazing. When I saw that, because I didn't know that was his until after I bought it, and I looked in the lining of the pants and saw his name, and I was like, oh, I'm a huge fan of these pants.
Awesome.
Yeah. Which is weird because I'm also taller than him, but it fits me perfectly. Like taller by like 3 inches. And it still fits me. So I was like, oh, he must have been wider.
Or they had to throw it away, maying.
Yeah, I mean,
didn't fit.
Could be. It's nice though. It's a nice jacket. It was like $1,000 suit that I got for like $100.
I'm gonna check it out.
Can't be it. Yeah, they were like 75% off. This is just an advertisement for It's a Wrap. 20 years in retail has taught me loss prevention watches employees, not customers. So there's a two-parter to that. One person said the Target, because I shoplift at Target, but only one bag of peanut M&Ms. And
you do?
I do.
For a thrill?
Yeah, more of a tax. on Target.
Tax on Target.
Like you're getting $80 from me for this. I'm taking $1.49 in M&Ms.
And what's your deal? You look at it on your way out and then you put it in your pocket?
Yeah, you want to know the actual thing?
Yeah.
Okay, it's great. So they have these carriages that have like a phone space on them. So like, normally it used to be where you could put the baby. But now there's like a little spot where you can put your phone on it, I'm guessing, so your baby can watch it while you're shopping or whatever. But when I first walk in, I grab the cart and I put the M&Ms there. Then I shop and I put everything in the main part. And when I pay, I go to the main part. So that way, even if I get caught,
it's just like, I left this.
I'm so silly. Of course, I don't actually do this because, that would be illegal for me to confess to that.
Yeah.
But if I did do it every time I went to Target, that's exactly how I would do it. And, it's hard too because like this, I'm trying to cut back on sugar, but I have like a couple bags of peanut M&Ms in the other room.
Yeah, that's my question. Are you still eating them, or do you just like throw them in the trash?
I sneak them into the movies.
Okay.
Peanut M&Ms are a good movie.
So it's a double crime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a dirtbag. I never shoplifted growing up. Never once.
I was always too anxious.
Yeah. I didn't want to do it. And I also don't steal like in the main scheme of things.
You don't have to defend yourself.
I have weird morals. I won't use Amazon. Like I refuse to do it. Like, I refuse to use Amazon.
Oh my God.
I won't do it. I steal their TV. I have somebody's code.
You just said you had to close out of an Amazon window when we started this. So what are you talking
No,
about?
I won't use Amazon, and it is very frustrating for the people in my life.
Oh,
because they'll be like, just do this thing at Amazon. And I was like, I won't.
No, you're the friend who doesn't have a car who makes them drive. Makes you drive them everywhere.
And they're like, why? And I'm like, I feel like they're literally destroying the country. I was like, it's making everybody impatient for stuff. Nobody wants to wait anymore for anything to show up. It's destroying small businesses. I was like, it's a bad company and I won't get, and they're like, yeah, so it must feel so high and mighty for you to not help destroy the country. And I'm like, kinda. I feel like I have to defend myself for not using Amazon. But
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm furious.
I get it. I see it in your eyes. It's a fire in your eyes. Then anger, fierceness. Shout out to Jose Cansecat. That's a good ass name for a cat.
A Hanna-Barbera name.
Right. I hit the baseball far. Jay, friend of the crows, demands a crow emoji. # join the murder. There isn't a crow emoji.
That's weird.
There should be. How else are goth kids going to talk about what movie they're watching this weekend? Follow my dog's Instagram at Bash Noggins. He's dumb and adorable. I like a dumb, adorable dog.
Okay.
You get the Aldo Vargas rookie card, everybody. R.I.P. to Don West. Bauhaus.
What is that?
The way it's spelled, it looks like a German home of Korean bun sandwiches.
Okay.
Bauhaus. Shout out to Koi Pham, art and mentoring. Do you know Koi? Koi Pham, he was artist on like Mighty Avengers.
No, yeah, I know that. I know the name. He's great.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
One of the Marvel's up and coming talents.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's done the show and he also is a sponsor.
Awesome.
And just the nicest dude, like super chill. Shout out to Nolan Void, Ricky Cilantro, Big Booty Boy, 42069. Maine, more than Stephen King. You ever been to Maine?
I think I have. The only reason, maybe not. I lived in New York for like 3 years, and there were road trips.
Oh,
where maybe
bragging.
We were in
Yeah.
Maine. Yeah, maybe we were in Maine.
Must be
maybe
nice.
not. Yeah, but maybe not. Maybe I've never been in Maine.
I went to college in Maine. You know who lives in Maine? Ed McGuinness.
Ed McGuinness.
I believe so. And
Working
Sean
with
Gordon
him.
Murphy, I believe, also lives in Maine.
Now in Maine, does Maine have anything like the Cape Cod? Isn't there?
That's Massachusetts.
Okay, that
very good.
That island, Martha's Vineyard, is that
Massachusetts?
Massachusetts. So, Jeff, I don't
There
think
you
I've
go.
been to Maine, my friend.
Okay.
I don't think I've been to Maine.
Kennebunk is the famous part of Portland, obviously, Maine, but Kennebunk is like where the Bush family would reside in the summers and things like that. Maine it says it's more than Stephen King, but barely.
Yeah.
It's Stephen King, Ed McGuinness, Sean Gordon Murphy. If I remember correctly, those guys live there.
I'm shocked by just because of how densely populated New York is, how sparsely populated. Yeah, how you just drive for an hour and there's nothing.
I'm going home I'm going back home for a wedding next month, and I'm going to rent a car, but it's so funny when you're like not in traffic.
Yeah.
There just isn't traffic.
Yeah.
The way there's traffic elsewhere.
Yeah.
Traffic is a stoplight.
Yeah. When we would drive up north, when the sun went down, I would start getting freaked out because there's not like lights.
No,
you just feel like
your car is doing all the heavy lifting.
You're like, if I run out of gas, what happens? Like,
yeah.
You think there's werewolves or witches out there.
Definitely see like
creepy.
a hairy arm in the woods moving out of the way as you're driving down.
It's kind of spooky up there.
Yeah, that is. I'm going to Hartford. That's where I'm going to be for the wedding. So it's definitely one of those things. So jumping rope, still a sport. Jeff not liking it, still a fact. You're going to get a lot of references about how I don't even like sports.
Okay.
As that is the name of another podcast I do called You Don't Even Like Sports. Bodacious, Big Bad Bouncing Bollock Bonanza. Shout out to Jennifer Fendelander, at AV Foundry, Patrick Dorr, Bart Fardigan. Steven's looking for a new job. Everyone's hire this Steven.
Let's give Bart Fardigan a little bit of love.
Bart Fardigan? It's a good ass name. Yeah. Much as your Bart Simpson socks.
Oh, thank you. That wasn't a compliment, but thank you.
Well, Bart,
Yeah.
It's not a compliment.
Okay.
Bart Fardigan is a good name. Huey. Check out Nerd with Dre and Jeff wherever Jeff May's podcasts are found. That's right. That must be Dre Alvarez. He does the show Nerd, where we do deep dives into nerdy pockets of history.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we did. That's kind of a history podcast. We just did the history of the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. That's exciting for you people, right? Shout out to Rudy. Daft Punk has an anime Rueda. It's called Interstellar 5555. Jeff hates competitive fun. See, you also get a lot of JHCF stuff. Shout out to Goji. Feliz Años Nuevo, you goofy. You gave a white guy the most Spanish thing. Feliz Años Nuevo. You goofy. Molotovsky advises everyone to calm the down and enjoy the menu. Did you see the menu?
No, but it feels like it's bubbling up. I saw it on a lot of top 10 lists this year.
I enjoyed it. It's funny. I went and saw it in the theater. I went to the Grove and saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
Paid from a parking and everything.
Yeah.
The next day, it was on HBO. Oh, this is fine.
It's better seeing things in the theater.
I agree.
You can't look at your phone.
I do agree. I have my AMC Stubs A-list that I use.
Great.
I was using it a lot
before.
Now I need to find more time. I've been too busy to see stuff, but like I should go and see more. I wanted to see RRR.
Me too.
In the theater.
Didn't see that.
That looks great. Jared, Boston Market saved my Thanksgiving. Ruane. I'm both excited and very deeply apologetic for you, Jared. Farty Marty, who's devoted his life to being upwind from Jeff in case, quote, the great air biscuit arrives as foretold. I criminally undercharged for this, by the way. Eat and die, Grand Canyon. Yeah. You ever been to the Grand Canyon?
Yes, not for a while, but I've been a couple times.
Yeah.
It's great.
Not interested.
Have you ever been?
I feel like I get it.
I don't think you do.
I feel like I get the gist.
I don't think you do.
I feel like if you showed me the Grand Canyon in person, I'd be like, yeah, that's what it looks like on the postcards.
No, it doesn't. Postcards never get the job done, man. You should know that.
I feel like I'm really good at visualizing things.
No, you're not.
You don't know.
No, I guess I don't.
Show me in the rules where it says a dog can't play basketball. I think it's in the rules now. Do you think like every Pee-wee basketball league had to then add the Air Bud clause? And animals can't play.
Well, yeah, because remember in Portland they had not put in their laws that you couldn't have sex with animals, so people moved there to have sex with animals.
That is so disturbing.
They had to finally put it in their
We didn't think we had to say this.
Yeah, once again, it's not legal here. We just forgot to tell you that it's illegal.
Yeah, Portland, Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Almost called Boston.
Really?
Yeah, by a coin flip.
So they were fighting about it?
The two guys that sort of established it, one was from Portland, Maine, one was from Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
And so like the naming was going to be coin flipped out. Yeah. This is kind of a history podcast.
Yeah.
Gray Man, tell me your fears. Shout out to the guy who played JJ in Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
Sure.
Shout out to Lisa Harden, also my co-producer on Mint on Card. Jessica Robertson, Silius Ruby, The Digital Phil, The Ghost of Dave Thomas. The Great Radvertising Scam, a Jeff May joint. It's coming. I'm working on it. I'm doing a podcast about commercials in the 90s.
Great.
Called Radvertising. and it's gonna be
Great.
it's intense. There's a lot of
Are
intense
you doing
stuff.
one commercial per podcast or?
It's gonna be focused on one brand per
Okay,
podcast. Yeah.
awesome.
So
That'll be
like
fun.
there'll be like a Mountain Dew episode, a Surge episode, a Burger King
Yeah,
episode, like
great.
Sega Genesis.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Intense.
Aaron Meyer. Shout out to It Was Me, Jeff. I've been giving you $10 a month since the beginning so you could afford more gas station Pop-Tarts, keeping you sluggish. Just slow enough for me to steal Christmas. Gas station Pop-Tarts. That is my go-to travel food if I'm on a road trip.
Really?
What's your road trip junk food, sweet and savory?
Junk food sweet. If I'm, my favorite would be a Hostess pie.
Ooh, what flavor? Cherry or lemon or apple?
I'm cherry or apple. If I like to get both.
They nail it.
And I consider apple the main course and cherry would be the dessert.
You're gonna get apple out of the way.
You get apple out of the way.
It's good.
Cherry's
it's good,
yeah, but cherry's the
cherry is the cherry on the sundae, so to speak. Yeah.
Savory, I like. Man, I will eat a gas station hamburger.
Oh hell yeah, microwaved.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like you'll go to the rack, grab it, put it in the microwave,
and they're those hamburger patties where beef is like the second ingredient.
Yes.
And like soy is the first.
Sawdust.
Yeah. Love it.
I do like I'm a big gas station Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Cherry, and very similar to yours actually, because brown cinnamon and sugar and cherry. Those are my two favorites.
Yeah.
Cherry's a much harder to find flavor.
Okay.
But if they have it
iced.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What am I, a psychopath?
I'll do it on ice.
An uniced?
Yeah. Because the crust cuts the sweetness of the filling. It's too much. It's too much with the icing.
What is wrong with you?
Cake? Do you scrape the icing off?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm an American.
No, see, I do like icing, but just a little.
I do know people that take some of the icing off of cake, and it infuriates me.
Really?
I would
It's
eat
pure
mostly
sugar.
icing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, see, how do you? Because I love trash food so much, and I spent my 20s and a big chunk of my 30s just like
Eating garbage.
saying F you to anyone that told me not to eat it.
Really?
But now I acknowledge how I feel after.
Sure.
So now I appreciate all of it, but I don't eat as much of it.
Yeah, I try. See, my problem is I have what's called compulsive overeating. I was a very big boy growing up, and I was a compulsive overeater, and I love junk food and spent the majority of the early run of my life eating terrible
as
food
much as you could,
and like a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like 2 double Whoppers in a sitting and stuff like that, which is it's so good. It's so good. I'm thinking about a Whopper now, and I'm like, I could go for that.
Sure,
I could really go for that. But yeah, so gas station Pop-Tarts and also pizzeria pretzel combos.
Pizzeria pretzel combos.
So it's combos, combos with the pretzel with the pizza filling.
I didn't know they
inside.
made pretzel with the pizza.
They have the cracker and the pretzel combos. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can get 2, they generally pair them up. Like you can get them as the cracker flavor or the pizzeria, and then just squirt the whatever toxic juice they're filling in there to make it taste like a pizza. Oh, hell yeah. I don't think they're blending pizzas and turning it into a paste and putting it in there. That is savory toothpaste that they are sticking in those things, and I'm in there for it. Shout out to Cronenberger Meisterburger, 3 Jacob Tremblays in a trench coat, sneaking into an R-rated movie. Parker Aylesworth. Just Parker Aylesworth. Christy Salinas. Hi, your friendly neighborhood mortician here to encourage you to get life insurance. That seems personal.
Yeah.
I mean, professional, of course, but also seems like this person's seen some
Yeah. I've got life insurance.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably good.
I think so.
I used to. When I was married, I used to have life insurance. And now I'm like, well, I don't give a shit now. Like, who cares if I die? Throw me in the trash. I don't need that. When I was married, I was super preferred. I had the lowest rate for the highest return of insurance you could get, because I got tested while I was fighting. Okay, yeah. So I was like in like
this
great
man will
shape.
never die.
Yeah, and they were like, okay, you give us $25 a month, and we will give you $3 million if you die. And when I got divorced, I told my wife at the time, I was like, if you want to keep paying this amount, you can just have this money when I'm dead. Yeah, you just have it. Like you can just. And she was like, no. I was like, all right. Looks like this thing's going away.
Shorts.
Next time I sign up for insurance, it's going to be very expensive
Yeah.
for me. Yeah. But you do have insurance. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had it for like 7 years.
Yeah. Smart. Wife have insurance?
No, I'll take the
selfish.
hit. Yeah,
So selfish. Got to talk to her about that. She listens to the
It's
show,
weird
I'm
though.
sure.
You watched enough of those murder shows where like, and he got
like, oh, I'm dying first.
He insured his wife, and I'm like, I can't get life insurance for my wife. She's gonna think I'm trying to kill her.
Yeah, no, never get a policy for someone else.
Yeah,
That's a terrible idea.
Right.
I would never do that.
Yeah, that seems creepy, right?
Because here's spoiler alert: they're gonna die someday,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't matter how.
Yeah. All I'm saying, honey, is that when you die, I'd love a massive payday.
Yeah, I just really, you know what would really take the sting out of it? I had to tell.
If I could do whatever I wanted.
I had to talk to my mom recently about making me the executor of her will. And I was like, you know why I need to be the executor of the will. And I do not like having this conversation with you, but you're creeping towards death age. And you know it. And I know it.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, that's fine. Jeff has colossal feet. Probably. He's a big fella. I do have big feet.
I'll take your word for it.
13s. They used to be a 15.
13s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
Same shoe size as Carmelo Anthony. Want to know how I know I have the same shoe size as Carmelo Anthony? Because these were his shoes before he gave them to Goodwill. Yeah, the shoes I'm wearing right now.
How'd you find that out?
I saw a bunch of very clean pairs of Jordans at the Goodwill on Fairfax and Beverly, and I was like, oh, and these are 14s in Jordans because they run narrow and small.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is crazy. And the lady at the store is like, yeah, this person just donated all of their shoes here. We have dozens and dozens of pairs in the back.
And he probably wore them once, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are crystal clean. And I bought these months and months ago.
How much did they charge for you?
$40.
Great.
Can't beat that. I didn't care who owned them. I had friends that were like, you gonna sell them? It's gonna be a fun explanation. It's good, easy to describe.
Yeah.
Take my word for it. The Goodwill lady told me these were his. Verbose minimalist, world's humblest man. Mindfreak 555 says the Varsity is just an okay fast food restaurant. I have no idea where the Varsity even
Me
is.
neither.
What's your favorite fast food restaurant?
My favorite fast food restaurant. It's always a cockfight between probably McDonald's and Taco Bell.
That's fair. Oh, that's very bare bones then. Yeah, I get it.
But see, those are the two with the most talons in my childhood.
Yeah.
So that brings back the most memories.
Yeah.
Where if I was the most quality fast food now,
I wouldn't say quality. If you were going to go get fast food right now, where would you go?
I would probably go to Popeyes or
nice.
Maybe my favorite burger place, which isn't quite the same thing, is probably Shake Shack.
That's not bad. Those are good choices.
Yeah.
I'm a Burger King loyalist. I think their flavor palette is great.
I feel like Burger King is the grown-up taste. Like when we were kids, I felt like McDonald's was for the kids and Burger King was for the adults. So to this day, if I get Burger King, I feel like I'm
be in a
fancy.
shirt and tie. Yeah,
I feel super fancy.
Yeah, the black tie Burger King. Yeah, that's why he's the king.
Because it tastes like it's been grilled. You can taste the flame broiler.
The flavor. Whenever people are like Burger King doesn't taste good, I'm like, what planet are you on?
Yeah, no, it tastes fantastic.
Like if you want the closest, I had friends that were like, I don't want Burger King because it tastes like real food.
Yeah.
If I'm getting fast food, I don't want to pretend that I'm at a barbecue.
No, it tastes like it's from a barbecue, which is fantastic.
The flavor palette.
Why wouldn't you want that?
The Whopper is such a good.
And then it's got the Whopper. It's got real tomatoes, real onions. It's
real
food.
It's
like it is.
Although I do love the dehydrated, rehydrated onions from McDonald's.
Oh.
Those little diced onion bits. Yeah. Those are heavenly.
Incredible. I remember,
and they're pickles too.
Sometimes I'll go double onions, double pickles.
That's exactly what I do.
I'll just get a hamburger.
I get a double. I get a McDouble with extra pickles, extra onions.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I get.
I remember reading that book, Fast Food Nation, and it's supposed to be telling me how gross everything is. 3 to 4 times I had to throw the book down and run to McDonald's.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a great idea.
It was making me so hungry.
Do you know what's in the McRib? I'm like, no, but I know it's going to be in me soon.
They were talking about shooting the onions at high speed through the blades to cut them all at once. And I was like, that sounds delicious.
Such a great idea.
Yeah.
I do love that when they were like, oh, this is like, even when Super Size Me came out and he's just like, oh, I did all this. And I was like, well, yeah, you're not supposed to eat it every day.
Yeah.
But that does look good.
Yeah.
And he does. I will say, shout out to Morgan Spurlock for in that movie. He's just like, cause it's tasty.
Yeah. Because it's
He's like,
delicious. And now I'm addicted to it. And
Yeah.
it's my favorite part of the day.
Yeah. Eating healthy, man, it's tough because the flavors of awful like it's just
you got to
good.
you got to rewire your brain so that when so that you're thinking about what it's doing for your body when you eat it, and that helps. But it's never, celery's never going to be a Whopper ever.
And as much as I try, I have celery with a spicy hummus that I get at the farmer's market.
Great snack.
And I love it.
Great
Boy,
snack.
you know what is better? It's a double Whopper with cheese.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then it's nap time and I can't work for the rest of the day.
I do feel rough about it. Yeah.
When I used to write in my 20s, and I just could never figure out why I couldn't eat a Big Mac and then finish the comic I was working on. You know
what though? I will say this. A burger for breakfast, if you're in like a health journey or something like that, a burger is actually a very good breakfast option.
Really?
Because it's got, I mean, obviously a fast food burger, it's going to have a lot of sugar and stuff like that. But if you make a burger at home for breakfast, the fat and protein content, it's really good for your brain, and it like and it fills you up in a good way.
Yeah.
It's really, there's like tricks
Okay.
for like peanut butter is a great.
Fat's good in the morning, right?
Fat's really good because it fills you up, and so you're less inclined to like keep going back to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because like that's why I put a lot of peanut butter in protein shakes, because like that fat ends up just kind of filling you out real good, and then I'm not super hungry at night.
Yeah.
Because that's my problem is I can.
You want to know? You want a
night.
Recipe for eating like skipping breakfast?
Oh yeah.
You don't eat breakfast, you're gonna eat like for lunch. Period.
My problem with that too is I can't work out with food in my stomach, so I eat breakfast at 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
and it's a protein
so you gotta
shake.
Be careful.
Yeah, it's I've really warped my diet, not on purpose, but just because the classes that I take are at noon.
Yeah,
and that's it. Like I should probably not be doing that, but is it? Shout out to Ass of Bass, Jen. Be earnest and enjoy what you love. That is the sweetest damn.
That's great.
Name to give. Just be Nicholas, you're doing great, Fabian. I put that on my Instagram things when I'm finishing up a video or whatever. Gotham City OSHA. That's a Tom and Jeff Watch Batman reference to the fact that the OSHA agents in Gotham City must lose their minds every time they tour like a toxic waste factory.
Sure.
You should have railings here.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna have an origin story here. Shout out to Grumblebee. I don't care for pie. Oh God, it feels so good to finally get that off my chest. I think we know that that's a lie.
Yeah.
I think we know that pie is amazing. Are you an apple and cherry pie guy as well?
Sure.
Do you ever have the Dutch apple pie over at the Coral Cafe?
No.
Delightful.
Now, what is Dutch apple pie? Does it not have a top layer of
the
crust?
crumbles on it? Not the crust, but it's got those kind of like sugary crumbles, like the.
Yeah. I think Burger King had a Dutch apple pie for
a
while.
Did.
It was
good.
That was
flavor
really
sand,
yeah.
I call it. Yeah, that's the
really
good right there. Shout out to Jocular Hagger, Cantankerous Fool, Vortispin, Just Boof It. Try to be kind. Try to be the kind of person that would make Mr. Rogers proud.
Okay.
No, not going to do that. Where's Clawful? We got our Clawful reference in. Carlos Castillo's unpopular opinion, one podcast, is Jeff doesn't even watch Batman. You got all of my podcast names in one title there. Congratulations. How about shout out to I Ain't Got Time to Bleed. And Instagram's at Mr. M. Tally, a collection of organs that are aware of themselves, and Jolly Holly Christmas Fool. So those are some people that gave me money, and that's a long list.
That was a long list.
It is.
And now, do they do that every week?
Well, it's a bi-weekly show,
bi-weekly,
so it's every other week. But it's gonna pare down. So enjoy that while you can, everybody, because we're gonna shift those. We're gonna shift that tier for a little bit. It's gonna be a little pricier soon. I keep saying I'm gonna do it, and I feel guilty about changing the tier, but I'm gonna bump that tier up a little bit, maybe so I don't read 130 names. But it is good.
That was a good crew, good gang.
Yeah, it's a good game, guys.
Yeah.
She-Hulk. Boy, is that something that you are reading what people are saying, or are you just laughing that they're even doing that? Because people are losing boys are losing their minds about this show.
I guess when we started the writer's room, everyone was already, just at the announcement of the show, everyone was already saying what they're currently saying now. So I don't find it very interesting, or I don't find any of the takes all that compelling.
They're embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't, that stuff is very easy to ignore for sure.
It has become this incredibly controversial, but the funny part about this is that the thing is, you guys knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can tell strictly for the first, the through lines of her interactions are it's very like, yeah, men are sometimes terrible to women, and that sometimes happens every day to women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's just we have to go through all the time. And men don't oftentimes like hearing that they are the problem.
No. And usually it's the men that are the problem that don't like hearing.
Get out of town.
Yeah, believe it or not.
I used to get like offended if I would like say hello to somebody and they would just ignore me, like on a run or something like that, or if I was out and and I would be like, I'm not that guy. And I was like, yeah, but I do look like that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, they don't know my biography.
Yeah.
They don't know I'm safe. They just know I'm scary.
Yeah. And they're allowed to do whatever they want.
Sure. Yeah. It was fascinating though to see like all, and like there's a couple things about it. Cause one, and I know we've said his name before, and I think we're both good friends with Dan Slott.
Yeah.
Where he went out and did a tweet relatively recently that was just like, I don't know, for whatever you say about it, She-Hulk is the most comics accurate MCU property that has ever existed. I've written the most issues of She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Trust me on this one. And people were like, yeah, but what do you know? And he's like,
and in a world where there are so like every Marvel character is getting some play right now. So in that world, why wouldn't there be one of these shows?
There should
from
be.
From a woman's perspective.
Not only that, but also from a storytelling and plot and interactive thing. Yes.
And that's what I think the coolest thing about what Jessica did with that show is I do feel like it feels different than the other Marvel stuff. It feels like its own thing. Mm-hmm. And that's good. And and some people don't like that, or I don't know what they don't like. And I honestly don't.
These are the people
I think they're exercising something that's going on inside themselves.
100%.
So it's like, I'm not super interested in like, what is their problem? I mean,
I think we know what their problem is.
Yeah.
But it was just very funny because as I was watching it and going through and seeing all the stuff they're talking about, and I was like, okay, but then when she did the fourth wall breaking, I was like, this is nice. Yeah. This is refreshing. This is taking the best parts of the John Byrne and Dan Slott runs and merging them together in beautiful ways. You did that, which you didn't work on a lot of live action before that. You did mostly animation.
Yeah.
Working with, Supermansion.
Yeah.
And the guys, Stupid Buddy, with Robot Chicken and guys that used to work at Wizard, for to tie it all back together.
That's how I think that's how we got there. That's how I got into television. Was those guys at Wizard went off and made Robot Chicken, and then after a while remembered me, and that's how I got my first.
This guy.
That's how I got my first TV job.
That's fun, huh?
Yeah.
And those were very popular episodes of Robot Chicken.
Yeah,
because you did the Star Wars ones.
Yeah.
Which were even referenced in Family Guy, which was a very It's very cyclical.
Because Family Guy and Robot Chicken were doing specials at the same time. I think. Yeah.
Well, because Robot Chicken had done it first, like a year or two before.
Yeah.
And the tying in, of course, being the inside joke being that Seth Green is the voice on Family Guy of the kid.
And Seth MacFarlane did the Emperor's voice on this Robot Chicken Star Wars special.
So it was this very sort of intertwined crossover thing where, they were making fun of it, and, Family Guy was making fun of the basic cable viewership of it. It was very fun.
It was funny. It was always a funny part of their special.
I'm not a huge Family Guy fan. I was like, okay, I get it. But those Star Wars episodes,
they're really
in of themselves are brilliant.
Yeah.
And the the Robot Chicken ones as well. Like
Yeah.
super, I love being able to deconstruct and then reconstruct stuff. And like when you look at writers like Kevin Rubio when he did Tag and Bink,
Yeah.
and sort of deconstructing and having fun with the Star Wars
Something
universe.
that we all know so much about, or was
Right?
such a part of our
Dude.
lives. Yeah.
I used to be so highly ranked in the Star Wars customizable card game when I was a teenager. And I was going to these tournaments while I was boxing. So I would like train for the Golden Gloves and then go and just look like this terrible man and just dominate and just looking like a jerk. Just like,
Because was everyone much younger than you?
well, no, it's not that. Actually, I was about the average age. I was, 18, 19 years old. That was
Yeah.
about that. But I looked like a bully.
Yeah.
I have bully energy,
Yeah.
like my face. Like I get it. I'm not going to pretend that that's not the case. But it
Yeah.
was so funny because but I also looked like they were just going to kick the shit out of me because I clearly was like, oh, this guy's too busy in the gym to work on his decks or something. And then I would just dominate and be like, wow, that was funny.
Yeah.
Funny how I won by so much, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of real bastard energy there. But yeah, so going into She-Hulk and watching it and seeing that, I was like, oh, this is great. And I'd known that you were worked on it. Then I implore you all to see it. So I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything like that. I don't do that. Seeing you show up was, spoiler alert, that was a delight for me.
Right.
Where I was like, oh, wow. And it made me be like, oh, is this like, I think I did ask you in person. I was like, hey, were the people in there actually all the writers? And you were like, well, not exactly because of, union rules and things like that.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting to see you show up in the show that you were writing as you, even though the show was fiction.
Yeah, that was super cool. That's one of those things where they were, they ask you if you might be interested in that. And you have to say yes, you know, and the guy in that scene that talks is playing me in the room. And so I auditioned to play myself, did not get the role.
You didn't match Zeb's energy enough.
No, I didn't. And I get it. I'm a terrible actor. But again, if someone asks you, Zeb, would you like to audition to be in a Disney Plus show? You just say yes. You don't say, I'm not ready.
I've been invited to audition for stuff that I had no right.
Yeah,
having that, right?
yeah.
Like, no,
I did not I did not belong to be there. It was embarrassing, but you just have to do these things.
I had an audition for Stupid Buddy.
Voiceover?
For Buddy Thunderstruck.
Oh, nice.
And then the job went to Ted Raimi. And I'm like, well, why did I even get asked to do this?
Yeah.
If you're just going to bring Ted Raimi and do that. But yeah, that was great. Because my friends were writing on the show.
Yeah,
and they were like, but if you want to audition, I was like, yes.
But that's something that's happened in animation lately is, that used to be they wouldn't always go after a name in animation. And now they want the
names don't necessarily sell animation,
but they think they do.
Hollywood's addicted to names.
It does not, absolutely, but they want to spend millions of dollars for some reason.
And I would like to shout out, not a lot of good things came about from social media, but giving voiceover actors their due by giving them a way to show their faces and show what they do. And you see like the success on TikTok of like voice match people and, guests like Shelby Young and AJ Lacazio, people who have done the show. And they're just like, I'm Han Solo.
Yeah.
Or I'm Princess Leia. Like that's just and it's like, they're not huge names, but now they're given that opportunity. I think is really neat. But so you auditioned for the role.
Didn't get it, but I got to be an extra so I'm not playing Zeb Wells in that scene. I'm playing the ham guy.
You're playing the guy that's looking at Zeb Wells.
Yes. And it was funny watching it because I am terrible, even in that small role. Like there's a scene where everyone's supposed to start laughing and I'm like 5 seconds behind. Like
you just take a little longer
on my way to the set, because you see what a big production it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw the guy playing me, how many versions of this he had to do and learning, and he had to like learn his, if there were new lines, he had to learn them like that and go like, it's a job. It's a profession and it takes a lot of practice and it's not easy. So I'm very glad they did not give me that role because I would have imploded.
That's why you should have done Brando, Where he's just like, I need someone to hold the cue cards for me while I'm talking. Like that's one of those things to me where Brando just decided he had gotten good enough that he didn't feel like learning lines. That to me is like perfect.
Yeah.
Because he could.
Somebody was saying that like it informed his acting style after a while. Like there was a little bit of like he was making sound, but it was him trying to remember what he was supposed to say.
Yeah. No, that's always really fun. I do see like auditions where like I'll have to help Val with an audition or something, and she'll be like, all right, well, I'm already off script, and I'll look at it's like a 3-page script. It's an audition, and I'm like, wait, you're what?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, how? And she's like, well, I just committed it to memory.
Yeah.
And I my brain is like, but how do you do that?
Yeah.
But then like stand up is very similar to that, where stand up has an acting element to it. So that's really you actually. Funny story. I just realized you came to a Mint on Card.
I did
one time. You like snuck in.
Yeah.
Sat in the back. And when the show was over, you just left.
Now, how did we know each other before that? I can't remember.
I think Facebook.
Did you message me or did we?
I may have messaged you. It really probably was me just being like.
Did you invite me to one of the shows?
I don't know if I did. I don't think I invited you.
Because we were interacting for some reason.
Yeah, and I think it was just me being like, because I'm, I'm comics adjacent, meaning I don't work in the industry, but I'm very sort of around it. I host panels. I do all the, and so it was probably just like, we have a lot of friends of, we have a lot of similar friends.
Yeah.
And I think I even messaged you just to be like, hey man, I think I probably was just what I'd said to you earlier, which is like, I just think you're like a really good writer and I want you to know that you're appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah. So something really nice.
It's just one of those things where it's like, I didn't forget that you wrote one of my favorite stories. And I've gone there have been so many conversations where people will talk about writers and I'm like, and don't forget Zeb Wells.
Right.
I know he, at the time as like a Spider-Man writer, you didn't have like the long-term, credits that a lot of people did, but I was like, you got to leave him in the conversation.
That's awesome.
Like I used to always do that. So, but that's important because you came, left, and then messaged me later. Was like, hey, it was a good show, man. And I was like, wait, you came?
Yeah, because we had not messaged that much and I was right down the street.
Yeah, your studio was right.
Yeah,
there,
I was. It was like a Friday, and I think Heidi was out of town, and I saw on Facebook the Mint on Card show, and I was like, I'll go see this guy's show. That's cool. And then I came and sat down, and I was like, is this the creepiest thing I've ever done?
No.
Like I got like nervous and worried, and I was like, he's gonna think I'm some sort of weird.
You did say that
stalker, and so I got out of there as soon as it was done.
You told me that, and I was like, no, like, no, we like that. Like that's not. We are attention starved people.
Right.
But to me, and then you were just like, I didn't want to make it weird, and I was like, wouldn't want to make it weird because I was a fan of yours.
Yeah. Like it was a good show though. You get good people there,
dude. Our show, our anniversary show in January 13th. So if you're on the Patreon, it's happening this week. If you're listening for free, it happened last Friday. Is the most stacked lineup I've ever had. Where it's like, legendary comedians like Dana Gould is going to do the show, but then some of the people that have been in like the newspaper, like Variety's up and coming comics and people that are getting like massive buzz are coming in to do my Toy Store comedy show.
Yeah.
Because the reason why is because we do our best to be the most for comedians show. We pay on a free show. We want the crowd to interact. We treat our people right. We don't bump them. We let them have fun. We let them do what they want. And I think it's a unique space to do comedy.
What's the business model there if it's a free show and you pay?
Donations.
Okay.
So we work on donations, but also I kind of guarantee a certain amount of money. And that business model is I won a ton of money on a game show.
Okay.
So I have the extra money to pad out to make sure everyone's happy.
Your investment, or you just see it as it's worth your money.
I trust, yes. So I trust the people that come for free, that if they donate or whatever, that the money will be enough to cover it, to get every comic like $20 for a couple minutes of work or something like that. If it doesn't reach that amount, I will make sure that I pad the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that's just happens to be that I currently have a decently sized bank account.
Yeah.
That will not it will not replenish as quickly.
Right.
But so I'll make sure that. But what it is to me is this is my love letter to stand up.
That's awesome.
And I love it. And, you know, it's something that's meant a lot to me and a lot of people early on, you know, before their careers really exploded and they moved. Melissa Villaseñor used to do the show all the time.
Awesome.
And then went off to SNL.
She's great.
Yeah. Just an amazing talent. And,
Yeah.
And it's just this thing. We've been doing it for 7 years with an asterisk. And, but you came that time and it was flattering. And also I got bummed because we hadn't met in person yet. And I think the first time we officially met in person was actually with Tom Krajewski. He was like, "Oh yeah, Zeb, like, yeah, I know him. Like, yeah, let's go." And we went to maybe like a signing that you had done or something where he was like, "You want to go to the signing?"
Yeah.
You know, my friend Zeb is there. And, you know, and I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And I think that might be the first time I officially met you.
Just this year?
No, it would have been a couple, because this year you did an amazing you did two amazing Spider-Mans. You did one in Ventura, which is a very funny story, which is one of my favorite stories, is the Ventura story, which I can talk about in a second. But then Amazing Spider-Man #1, when you did the release, you did that. But there was one you did before that.
Okay.
That was a couple years ago. Ventura. We can talk about that one for a second because it's so funny to me. And it's so there, Arsenal Comics, Timmy Heeg, great store owner, really big on the community. He did this special variant cover by Todd Knock, who's a great artist.
Yeah.
And he had you, Dan Slott, and Daniel Kibblesmith, who are all incredible writers that involved in the book.
Todd Knock was there.
Todd Knock was there as well, yeah. And so it was 4 people signing. And I was like, look, I know 3 of these 4 people. I'll drive an hour and even I'll wait in line. I didn't cut the line, even though I know the owner and everything. I was like, this will just be, you know, I'm going to be like everyone and just go.
And it was a line that day. It was
a line, and it was a hot day.
Yeah.
And it was funny because when I got in, even Tim, the owner, was like, you waited in line? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you know, I didn't want to be a weirdo about it, you know. You don't like to do the, do you know who I am thing, or like assume that. So, you know, we got in and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the book. I'm going to get my friends to sign it and I'm going to get it graded. And I love the art of graded books. I really do. I think it looks great in the frame. I think it's cool. So Todd, I don't know Todd well. We're nod friends where it's you know, you know him, you nod, and then you keep moving because you don't want to bother somebody. But I feel like I know you and the Daniels better.
Yeah.
And so he signed it and then you signed it. And I don't think you realized I was CGCing and you just kind of like made fun of me.
Like, it would be hilarious.
I know you can't read or something like that. And I saw it and I was like, it doesn't matter. I was like, and you were like, wait, are you grading this? And I was like, it's fine. Like, it's whatever. It doesn't matter. And then, you know, Dan and Dan both signed theirs and it was like, whatever. And it was funny. And I was like, it didn't matter because it's obviously something personal anyway. I wasn't going to sell it. It's a variant from a store or whatever. Came back a 10, which is the rarest.
Never happened.
So a CGC 10 is maybe 1 out of every 10,000 to 20,000 books.
So even if it's the most common book on the planet,
9.8
a 10 is going to be worth some money.
It's going to be worth, it'll dectuple the price sometimes or something like that. But signed books never get 10s because it's being handled by so many people. Quad signed books signed by 4 people don't exist in a 10. I think I might have the only one. And it is. And here's the thing is I was never going to sell it, which is why I wish it came back as a 9.6 or a 9.8 because I was looking at that and I was like, you know, if it wasn't, I was like, well, this would be worth, you know, at least $1,500 or something like just like a not insignificant amount of money.
Yeah.
And again, it's nothing I'm going to sell, but I was laughing my ass off because of course my 110 that I'm ever going to get. And it's
even on the label, doesn't it say Zeb Wells? Yes. I know you can't read.
Yeah. I have the book out here somewhere, but it's a personalized with Jeff from Dan Slott, and I know you can't read. So it's in the database that you made fun of me for not being able to read.
It's official.
It's just, And so another friend of mine, Mike Choi, who is an artist, great artist, very talented, actually did that book Moths with James Straczynski.
Oh yeah.
So it all ties together. He became really into slabs as well, graded books. And he was like, and he, you know, we go back and forth about it because he was like, I used to hate them. And I was like, I actually really like the art of the framing.
Yeah.
I think it's a good aesthetic. And if I want to get a reader copy of something, I'll just get a reader copy.
Yeah.
But, you know, I like that. I want to have, you know, like recently, the first thing I bought, like my big indulgence when I won the money on the game show is I bought my first ever comic book that I ever got.
Oh, that you ever read? Yeah.
Not that was like a hand-me-down of a Mickey Mouse golden, you know, or Dell comic from the 70s or whatever that my brother and I shared. This was my book. It was a G.I. Joe number 51. It was in my stocking when I was like 3 or 4 years old, you know, and I think about it all the time. It had a John Byrne cover. Impossible to find as a 9.8. I finally found it, you know, and it cost me nothing.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, well, that's the thing. That's the first one. And everyone's like, yeah, but you know, you're not going to get to read it. And I was like, I can find a shitty copy to read.
For a buck.
Like, it's like, it's $1 book that I paid $200 for at a frame.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. It is very funny because I know you had like this guilt when you realized I was grading it. And I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then it came back and I was like, all right, I
care a little bit.
But it is, and I sent them, I told Mike Choi, because we would go back and forth. I was like, I'm going to show you the funniest thing. And at first I showed him the book.
Because I write your name on it. Didn't I write your name on it?
Personalized.
I wrote Jeff.
It's personalized.
Yeah.
Where I showed him just the book. And I was like, I just got this signed, and I cut off the grade. I cropped the picture where I cut the grade out. And he was like, oh, that's really, you know, it's cool. Oh yeah, you got that. That's a nice book. And then I showed him the grade. And he's like, fuck. He was like, holy shit. Like he couldn't fathom it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was like, yeah, this is unbelievable. It is like an unheard of thing. And that to me though, there's this wavering back and forth, like, oh, it's not worth anything, but I never was going to sell it anyway.
You never going to sell it, but
it's also so fucking funny.
Yeah.
That joke, just the joke that this is happening is worth it for me.
Yeah, for sure. Worth the 1,500 or whatever.
It is so funny. Yeah. Cause I do wonder, like a quad side CGC-10, and
that's not nothing. That's crazy.
Unbelievable to exchange hands from at least 6 people
and get a 10.
Yeah. And to get a 10 is just on a prestige format book. It's a thick book too, which is even harder to get that. It's just so a lot, like the theory is that because it's so personalized, they were like, give them a fucking 10. It doesn't matter. Like they can't sell it. It's
there's
worthless.
a lot of Jeffs out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Jeffs out
there. So many Jeffs, so many illiterate Jeffs that are comic book fans that could really go just Zeb, he's blowing up my spot. Yeah. It'd be funny if I sold it on eBay and I'd be like, you know, it would have meant a lot to me, but he revealed my secret
in
front of everybody, and now everyone knows. So I have to get rid of this cursed object. So I have to let you go soon, obviously, because we could talk all day. This is fun. We are going to do a little bit of bonus content for you patrons, so stick around. If you are listening for free, head on over to patreon.com/JeffMay. Sign up. Zeb, is there anything that we should point people to? Read Amazing Spider-Man.
Read Amazing Spider-Man. I'm neck deep in that. Check it out. Marvel Zombies will be coming out soon-ish. Not soon-ish. They're working on it.
Yeah.
But
and that's going to be animated?
It'll be animated. Yep. It'll be awesome when it does come out. And I believe that's all I can talk about.
That's all we can talk about.
Yeah.
Cool. Because, well, there is something we can talk about because the news was announced this week.
The Marvels.
Yes. That you are writing on.
So check out The Marvels, which is July
2024?
2023. I think it's this year.
Is it this year?
Yeah. I think
it's hell
July.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's coming. You were a screenwriter on that, right?
Yeah. One of the screenwriters. Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. Everyone, read Amazing Spider-Man. I believe volumes 1, 2, and maybe 3 are out in trade paperback right now.
Or 3 is coming out soon.
Yeah.
If it's not out.
You can do that. I mean, I still do the mistake of buying individual issues. I go on vacation. Every time I go on vacation, I find the local comic shop and I buy stuff. And funny story, because we had this set up. They happen to have some variant covers
Okay, what do we got?
of Amazing Spider-Man here. We have Amazing Spider-Man number 8, the Predator variant.
Yep.
We have number 13, the I don't know what variant this is, but it's cool as hell looking.
Yeah.
And then the number 14 Ed McGuinness
Oh, that's a great one.
Cover here. So here's what I'm thinking we can do too, is if you guys, we'll figure out a way. I'll figure out a way to do that. Why don't we do this? Well, I'm going to have you sign those books. I'm going to send those out to people.
Love it.
I went to Current Comics in Monterey, California, and bought those books. And I was like,
Nothing like a vacation comic. It's great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
You know
Find
what?
in a store.
I remember reading your Peter Parker run on vacation on the Cape.
Really?
That was at that time. So it would have been around 2004.
Yeah.
Like
2003, 2004.
Yeah, because that would have been around that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so check out, be on the lookout for Marvel Zombies. I'm sure you're going to watch it. If you haven't watched She-Hulk, go watch She-Hulk.
Yes.
Head on over to Crackle and watch Supermansion.
It's not on Supermansion anymore. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, I know. Because Crackle, is Crackle a thing anymore?
I think so.
Okay, they still are.
Chicken
Okay.
Soup for the Soul bought Crackle, and yeah, so
They didn't want Supermansion.
they didn't want
there?
Supermansion anymore.
All the great stuff that you've done. Check out Zeb's book. Research him. Follow him on social media. You got
Please.
so much cool stuff. For those of you that want to hear more from me, and you're listening for free, you can of course hear me on Gamefully Unemployed's Tom and Jeff Watch Batman. That's Gamefully Unemployed. You can also hear me on Unpopular Opinion, as well as You Don't Even Like Sports podcast for people who hate sports, both on the Unpops Network. If you liked this, head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May, where you can get early access to uncensored episodes with bonus content, as well as shows like Ugh Fine with Kim Crawl. And you might be listening to Nerd. You can hear that on the Patreon as well as for free. We've got so much cool coming your way. If you like live stand-up, Mint on Card is the second Friday of every month at Blast from the Bast on beautiful Magnolia in Burbank, California. So you want to head on over to that, and then you can find me on social media at Hey There Jeffro. You've probably already stopped listening right now, unless you're on the Patreon. But if you're a free listener, bye. Zeb, say bye to them.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram, as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababan, and boy, does that shred. Thank you all so much for listening. See you next time.